So welcome everybody to this call. It's wonderful to see everybody's faces. This is the last of MCAEL's April weekly network meetings. And we're going to focus today on how we can better support our learners. As you all know, this is a challenging time for everyone, but we wanted to be able to provide some resources that will better equip you to help folks that need it in your classrooms. But first I wanted to say it's been great to hear all of the stories about all your programs that you've been able to continue your instruction online and be able to engage your learners. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. So today I'm particularly pleased to welcome our guest speakers, and I'm going to just share the screen, my screen with you here. Oh, how do I get rid of that? So we're very pleased today to have a number of guest presenters, Ann Mazur from EveryMind, Amanda Nesher from the Montgomery County Food Council, and Alana Branda from the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as Anna DeNicolo and Uni Hong from the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center. So in a minute, we're going to ask each of our presenters to speak for 10 or 12 minutes about their particular area of expertise. And then we are going to, have a chance for people to ask questions. Actually, I think because there are so many of us, let's, if you could put your questions in the chat box, that would be great. And then Christine Neal, my colleague, is going to help to monitor those questions and ask them at the conclusion of each person's presentation. But to start out today's session, we just wanted to take a quick moment and ask of all of our attendees, what are the top 3 concerns that you are hearing about from your learners? And so I'm going to start a poll here. We thought it would be very useful for us to know, to get a sense from all of you on what you are hearing from your learners. So if you could take a few minutes to complete this, thank you. Is everybody seeing the poll? Okay. So on this is accurate information on COVID, food, healthcare, housing, internet access, mental health, and other. And if you have other, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat box what other means for you, that would be great. Okay, it looks like people are about done voting, so I'm going to end the polling and share that. Okay, so unsurprisingly, I guess, food is at the top of the list with 75%, followed by housing, healthcare, and accurate information on COVID-19. Okay, great. And then I see in the chat box, other is employment and unemployment insurance and the CARES stimulus package. So we will be able to cover most of these concerns today, provide you some resources to know about, to share with your learners. So with that, I'd like to just jump into our panel discussion and ask first Ann to speak about resources in the mental health area.
Thank you, Rudi. Great to have everyone here. And please, as I'm speaking, go ahead and put questions in the chat. I'm happy to address specific questions that you're hearing. But for those of you that are not familiar with EveryMind, but I know that we partner and work with many of you on the call, we provide mental health support across the lifespan. 60% of our work is within Montgomery County Public Schools. And so we're working with students, families, parents across those schools, both through linkages to learning, the wellness centers at the high schools, and also school and community youth services. In addition, we offer mental health services for Spanish and French speaking residents of the county at our offices at Twinbrook. A lot of our offices are embedded within the community. Seeing that poll, I'm not surprised at all to see that poll. And I will say that the work that we typically do throughout the county is mental health, but we all know that that is impacted by what's going on, you know, in everyone's day-to-day lives. And of course, during this time, that has been exacerbated. So I will speak to the fact that over the past 6 weeks, what we've seen, you know, across our programming with case managers, volunteers, therapists, et cetera, is similar to what I just saw on the poll. And so we have done a quick shift where our case managers, therapists are working with families to first and foremost make sure that food is accessible and available. You know, issues with housing, you know, rent payments, et cetera, supports like that. We have a lot of contracts with the county and also foundation and other support. And so we are one of the conduits that can help support. So if I'm thinking about those on the call and your learners, that not only EveryMind, but many of the other nonprofits that are working in partnership with the county are a resource for you to refer individuals that are in your programming, you know, for those needs of food, housing, et cetera. And because the nonprofit partners during this time are working alongside of each other and alongside of the county, because of that direct connect with the client that all of you also have to help support those needs. Also, in general, EveryMind runs the 24/7 hotline for the county. And that is a resource that every single person can access. It's free 24/7 for telephone services, noon to midnight for text and chat services. The number for that is 301-738-2255. What I would encourage all of you to do is, if you're not familiar with our website, that information, all the other resources that I'll share are all on the website. We did put a banner right when you go to our website, which is every-mind.org. Right as you go onto the website, there's a banner with the hotline number and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number. The Suicide Lifeline has a Spanish line. So that's important to know that's listed. And if you click on the additional resources, we have gathered resources related to mental health, specific to COVID and COVID response. And so, you know, I'll send you there. Please feel free to send me any questions. We, you know, pre-COVID, we have a resource sheet that we disseminate, and I'm happy to send those electronic versions that you can share that has mental health supports from county providers, other nonprofit providers, et cetera. But also, if someone calls the hotline is not just for crisis. So that is staffed, and you could call if you have a question about, you know, someone you're working with, if you have a question about a friend or family member, or the individual can call. So it is supportive listening, and actually about 70% of our calls to the line are for supportive listening versus crisis. So I just want to encourage everyone that that is an available resource for anyone. And it's also a nice entry point because you can have a conversation and get additional resources. If someone specifically needs mental health resources, they can work with looking, through Psychology Today to find someone that is convenient, if there's transportation barriers, uninsured, Medicaid eligible, insurance, but sliding scale, whatever those might be. So I would definitely encourage that. Also, I do want to point out that our hotline resource is for English speaking. Okay, so if for individuals non-English speaking, the Crisis Center for the county does have capacity for non-English speakers. And if someone calls to our line, we do a warm handoff to the County Crisis Center, or you can provide the information for the County Crisis Center directly. So I just wanted to also, for this audience, make sure that everyone is aware of that. And there's much more I can talk about. I just wanted to see if there were specific questions about some of the work we can, we're currently doing, or that we can partner with those of you on the call that might have specific challenges, barriers, things that I can answer.
There are a couple of questions in the chat. What is the easiest way to find out the language capacity of different mental health providers throughout the county?
Mm-hmm. I will say that is not a simple answer. And I think that we've all seen that areas and gaps that we know already existed, right, have absolutely been exacerbated by this crisis. I know that, as I mentioned, I would say that the Crisis Center is a key place to turn. There, I forget the number of languages that are available, but the Crisis Center could help support that. If the individual that's calling is English speaking, I would encourage them to call our hotline, right? Because someone on our hotline can walk you through all of those resources and find an appropriate resource, whether it's language, location, transportation, availability of resources. So I would encourage that.
Mm-hmm. And then some other questions. Are the services available to those who don't have legal immigrant status?
Absolutely, absolutely. All of our programming is available to anyone in Montgomery County. There's no questions regarding legal status, etc. So they're all provided, and as I said, either with some individuals that do have Medicaid, we accept that, uninsurance, undocumented. It's, that's the area and the individuals that we primarily serve.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And secondly, are you willing to do a Zoom talk with a small group? I guess that means, is there online counseling for groups available?
Okay, if it's counseling for groups, we are certainly doing that within our programming. So if that person wants to reach out specifically, we can talk about that. A lot of our work is county funding, right? So we have certain scope requirements. For instance, if you're not familiar with, linkages to learning across the county, we're one provider of 4. And so for instance, we're providing services in 11 of 29 schools that have linkages to learning. So if, the family was in one of the schools that we provide services for, that would be, or there's like a network of providers. So if there's a specific group or population, it might be us, it might be family services, it might be the YMCA. But if you contact us, we can get you through the right, if that's someone that's connected to the school system. Outside of the school system, we do provide English and French speaking services that we have converted all of our services to virtual and remote. So all of our therapists are working in that way. And I think across the community, that's the case.
Okay. Thanks. And then Uni had a follow-up question on language capabilities of the hotline operators. Does EveryMind hotline operator? So EveryMind hotline line operators know what language capabilities that other providers in the county have and can help provide referrals. It sounds like that you're referring those to the crisis center.
Some would be the crisis center, or we do have information from some of the commissions with the county, you know, like, right, the Latino Initiative, Asian American, right? I think that there are definitely challenges. I know we've been speaking with, you know, Department of Health and Human Services, as well as county council members, et cetera, right? Because we know that there are challenges and gaps there. I will say that is not smooth, but I think that if you call, they do have a list of resources. It probably, I'm sure, is not comprehensive, but as much as we have on there, they can connect, and they also would know who to connect with to find the answer for you. So,
okay, thank you. And would you mind putting in the chat box the URL for your website? And that would be terrific. Thank you. I think at this point we'll move on to Amanda to talk about food resources.
Sure, thank you, Rudi. I'm just wondering how to share my screen with the presentation. Is I just click the share button?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully that'll work.
Yep, we see it.
Did that work?
Yes, it did.
Okay, great. Oh, no, I'm not seeing it. Okay, let me just click present. Great. Hopefully that's working. Well, so thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. So what I wanted to do today quickly was to just give you all a brief overview of the Food Council, a little bit about the food insecurity landscape in Montgomery County, and some of the changes to our activities that we've been making due to COVID-19. And then also walk you through very briefly 2 tools that the Food Council has developed. One is called the Food Assistance Resource online map, and then one is a food assistance referral tool. And I do apologize to any of you who are on the call who did attend these trainings. So I did actually give 2 much longer trainings on these tools this past Monday and last Wednesday. And if anyone does want any more information after I've spoken today, I'd be happy to connect with you offline and talk through some of the more intricate capabilities of those tools afterwards. But first of all, oops. So a little bit of background about the Food Council. So we're a Montgomery County-based 501c3 nonprofit that works to bring together stakeholders to create a robust, local, sustainable food system. So in addition to our 4 permanent staff members and our 2 AmeriCorps Vistas, we have 25 volunteer council members and 7 board members who all meet regularly to guide our priorities. And we work on strategies that are wide-ranging, from helping to support our farmers and producers and manufacturers in the agricultural reserve to access local economic opportunities. We also work with food assistance providers to ensure that food insecure county residents are able to access food. We also advance strategies to reduce food waste and increase environmental sustainability, and also engage with policymakers on the local and federal level on food access issues. So we achieve our work through our 4 working groups, which meet monthly and are open to the public, and regularly engage more than 300 food system stakeholders. And those working groups are the Food Recovery and Access Working Group, the Food Education Working Group, the Food Economy Working Group, and the Environmental Impact Working Group. However, in order to keep a systems-based approach to our work, it's really essential that we step outside those kind of topic-specific silos to make sure that our work is as collaborative and streamlined and systems-focused as possible. So what we bring specifically to food system work through our structures and resources, we increase the capacity of local programs, businesses, and organizations We grow and strengthen networks and partnerships, lead advocacy, drive policy and process change, build knowledge and awareness of resources and issues, research and communicate opportunities and challenges, and foster food system leadership locally, regionally, and nationally. So specifically relating to our food security work, the Food Council, with the input of many community partners, co-created the Montgomery County Food Security Strategic Plan, which was released by the county executive in 2017. And the plan was developed from public discussion forums and listening sessions, in-person interviews, roundtable discussion groups, in partnership with businesses, nonprofits, local and government agencies, and food assistance providers. And the shared vision of the food security plan was to make our community a place where all people at all times have access to safe, sufficient, nutritious food in order to lead fulfilling lives and contribute to making Montgomery County, Maryland, a place where all live in dignity. So to implement the food security plan, the Food Council works with all of our many food assistance providers, like food banks, food pantries, and other organizations, to guide and inform the county government's implementation of the plan, and also facilitate increased connectivity among community partners and food assistance providers and recipients so that resources are efficiently and systematically coordinated and shared. So the most recent data from Feeding America show that the food insecurity rate in Montgomery County prior to COVID-19 was 63,380 people, of which more than 30,000 were children. And research showed that there were varied, complex, and interconnected root causes for this level of food insecurity, and that certain populations in the county were increasingly vulnerable to it, namely children, seniors, people with disabilities, and foreign-born residents. And I want to draw your attention to the section on the far right-hand side of this slide, in particular to the sentence stating that living below the self-sufficiency standard is a risk factor for food insecurity. So as a benchmark, for a family of 4 to live in Montgomery County and afford the most basic amenities without any external support, they would have to make an annual income of $91,252, which is significantly above the national poverty level, as well as the income eligibility levels for programs like SNAP or food stamps, and WIC, which is the Women, Infants, and Children program. So a huge number of people in Montgomery County fall into the gap of earning too much to be eligible for these federal assistance programs, but yet not earning anywhere near enough to make ends meet. We also know that the negative health impacts of food insecurity are very serious. So studies have shown that it leads to obesity, chronic disease, as well as poor educational and disciplinary outcomes in children and youth. And of course, the COVID-19 crisis has exacerbated the food access challenges for the 60,000 plus residents in Montgomery County already experiencing food insecurity. More than 30,000 county residents have recently filed for unemployment, and many are experiencing food insecurity for the first time. So social distancing, health concerns, and changes in retail models have also further limited food access for homebound seniors, residents with disabilities, and people experiencing homelessness, and many other residents of the county. So, oops. There we go. Wait, there we go. In order to meet this growing need, the Food Council has pivoted to provide extra support to the food assistance provider community and county residents during the COVID-19 crisis. So as far as connecting and supporting community providers is concerned, for the last month or so, we've been hosting weekly food security community Zoom meetings from 1 to 2:30 p.m. every Monday that are open to the public in order to share updates and resources and hear provider spotlights on specific programs and initiatives. And each week following our update call, we share an update on these resources and community needs to local government leaders, stakeholders, and the broader community. We've also been identifying and communicating provider needs through a tracking document and referring available resources such as volunteers, food, and transportation to appropriate providers, and also to the newly created Food Security Task Force. We also identify best practices from other regions and communicate these to the relevant Montgomery County stakeholders. And as far as connecting residents to food assistance resources is concerned, we're collecting information through the tracking document I just mentioned on food assistance providers, opening hours and things like that, which allows us to keep our online food assistance resource map updated, and I'll share that with you in a second. We even update it on a daily basis as we get new information, so it should be pretty current and accurate. Our staff members have also been calling Maryland residents to provide food assistance resources and schedule SNAP application phone call appointments. We've also created a food assistance referral tool, which I'll talk about in a second, to better connect residents to food assistance resources. We also have a resource page on our website with links to share resources related to food assistance, volunteer opportunities, and small business support. So now onto the tools. So the first tool here is our food assistance resource map. And the link there, hopefully, I don't think you guys can click on it right now, but hopefully, Rudi, you'll be able to share the presentation after,
Yes.
and you'll be able to get those links, and they should be active. So some of you may have seen our hard copy food assistance resource directory. And basically what that is, it's a brochure that contains more than 70 food assistance providers in the county with information like their address and contact details, opening hours, type of food assistance provided, and whether clients need to make an appointment, or even what languages are spoken at those food assistance providers. So this online map, which is on our website, takes all of that information and puts it in a searchable database, which can either be used by residents themselves or other agencies or service providers trying to help clients or participants find their nearest food resource. It's not exhaustive, this database. We didn't want to put online anything that we hadn't verified personally with those specific providers. So it only has information from providers we've been able to reach, because we just didn't want people going off to places that have maybe since been closed or have different opening hours. So there may be places that you know of that are not in here. And if that's the case, I would please encourage you to give me a call or send me an email, and we'll make sure to add them. So the way you can search on this tool is either by name of an organization or by location, address, or zip code, and then just click search. There are filters that will also pop up. It's pretty simple, like a Google search. You can just add the filters to filter by type of food assistance, by language, by, I'm trying to think of the other things. There are a couple other things, like fresh produce, whether you need an appointment, whether there are any accessibility issues. So you can search that way. And then when you've clicked search, it'll pull up here on the map, the little pinheads. The gray pinheads, if you're confused about those, some organizations didn't want to list their actual specific address for a few reasons. Either they didn't want to be inundated by people showing up and they wanted people to call first, or because maybe they're a shelter and they didn't want, it's like a domestic violence shelter and they didn't want their address publicly available. But we were able to approximate their location so that they still do show up in the map. So you can search like that, and then when you have the list, you can just click print on your computer, and it should come up as a list that you can print and then hand to somebody, or you can also click save as a PDF, and then it will save the list, and you can send it as a document in an email. Right now, we are working on getting translation capabilities onto our website. So we're hoping that, it won't be super accurate. It will just be kind of like through Google Translate, but there will be hopefully in the next couple of weeks options for people to see these resources, or at least see the pages on our website in 7 different languages, I'm hoping. So whilst I think the results would still be obviously in English with the addresses and things like that, I hope that all the text at the top will be translated so that it can be shared widely to different populations. And then to the second resource here, this is our food assistance referral tool. So this is available on our website, and then obviously you'll be able to click this link when you get the slide deck afterwards. So really what this is designed to do, it's designed to be for organizations or people like yourselves who have clients, participants, learners who are asking you for help. And it's really an effort to try and navigate all the different things that you've heard about, I'm sure, that exist to provide food to people, and kind of think about who the person is that is asking for help, and then see if you can really target, specifically target the results that you need. So first of all, it's just looking at people who maybe can actually still afford to purchase food. So if people can still afford to purchase food, here are some resources for grocery delivery, curbside pickup, or farmers markets. If people are really not able to purchase food due to economic struggle, then go to this box here on the left. So that is first referring people to the map on the page I just on the previous slide, and then other programs such as the SHARE program, which is a discount grocery program. And then it talks a little bit about the SNAP program. Unfortunately, the SNAP program is only available, food stamps is only available to documented residents. And there's also a whole another section I could talk about for ages on public charge, which I won't go into right now. But we understand that there are challenges with accessing the SNAP program for people who either are undocumented or are on a path to citizenship and don't want to be on the program because it could impact their path to citizenship. So for that, then I would suggest that they look at the Food Assistance Resource Map. But for now, the SNAP program has, through the Families First Coronavirus Act, there's a huge SNAP allotment. So previously, one person in a one-person household would receive a minimum of $16 a month for SNAP. They're now receiving the maximum for one person, which is $194. And that is going to continue on a monthly basis until the federal government declares that it's no longer an emergency. So if somebody is not on food stamps and can be, please encourage them to apply. And here are some ways they can either contact Maryland Hunger Solutions or the Department of Health and Human Services to get on food stamps on SNAP, because it would really, really benefit them at this moment. And then after you've referred people to those resources, you can look in the boxes here and see if the person you're speaking to fits any other demographics. So if they're over 60, here are some resources to refer them to specific programs in the county that can help. If they are pregnant or have a child under 5 in the house, they can apply for the WIC program, which, just FYI, you can be undocumented and apply for the WIC program. So you can be on that program and be undocumented, so definitely, and it does not affect, it's not taken into account as far as public charge is concerned, so definitely encourage people to apply for that. It also applies to people who are guardians of children under 5. So it does not have to be a parent of that child. So if a grandparent is looking after a child under 5, they can apply for the WIC program on behalf of that child, and you get benefits to purchase things like formula and other food every month. Obviously, children under 18, whether or not they have attended MCPS or currently attend MCPS, can get meals from the meal sites, which hopefully you've all heard about. There's a list here. If you click any of these underlined options, by the way, they all take you to links that you can then click on to see all the information. And then farmers markets. So there are some farmers markets that if you use your SNAP or WIC dollars at them, they will double the money. So Crossroads Farmers Market in Silver Spring, you spend $50 of your SNAP, you will get another $50 on top of that to spend at the market from Crossroads. Super, super worthwhile, especially because it's fresh produce and obviously healthy and things that are in short supply at the moment. And then if you are homebound or disabled, or the person you're talking to is, then obviously there's Meals on Wheels. And then here we've listed some additional resources, such as the county's COVID-19 hotline, the Gilchrist Center, DHHS assistance on things like financial assistance, childcare, and energy. Just in case, obviously we all know food assistance does not exist in a vacuum, as your poll showed, Rudi. So anyone who is struggling with food insecurity is probably struggling with other things too. So just as a quick referral, there are some numbers and resources there. And just to explain quickly, we realized that this page, the first page, because it's all hyperlinked, is designed to be used as you're sitting on a computer to refer somebody. But if you decide to print it out and hand it to somebody, or if you are just not by your computer, this second page here lists all of the links out in kind of long form and all of the numbers, so that if you're not able to just click on the link to refer someone, you can send them to the right link here on the second page. So I know I've taken up a lot of time, but hopefully that was useful. And if any of you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them either right now or offline. But I do encourage you to join our weekly calls if you are available, just to get a real-time update on what's happening in the food security world. Great.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That second tool, all the tools you talked about look really useful. We will be sending out an e-bulletin next week, and we can include the links in there. But this recording, this will be available on our website as well for people to see. In the interest of time, I think right now we'll move on to Ilana. If you have any questions for Amanda, please go ahead and put them in the chat box, and we'll be sure that they're forwarded to Amanda to answer later. So Ilana.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. So I'm Alana Brandon. I'm the Deputy Chief with Services to End and Prevent Homelessness within HHS. Just as a quick note, since Amanda touched on it a little bit in terms of the cash assistance or, SNAP or other benefits, I'm not with CYF or the OESS side, so my ability to answer those questions would be extremely limited. But if you do have questions around those areas specifically, I'm happy to help follow up and get some information. In terms of what Services to End and Prevent Homelessness specifically is doing, so we, within our division, is our housing stabilization offices that regularly provide eviction prevention, utility shutoff support, and burial assistance. We are still open and operating. How we are open and operating has shifted, as with most places. So our Germantown office, which is based in the Germantown, the Regional Service Center up there, that building is closed at this point for any services. And so we are open in our Rockville office, which is the 1301 Picard building, the same building where the crisis center is located. We are open there on Tuesdays and Thursdays for families seeking emergency shelter. They can still walk in on Tuesdays and Thursdays there. And our Silver Spring office, which at the moment is at 8818 Georgia Avenue, is open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, again, also for families seeking emergency shelter. The Georgia Avenue building will actually be closing. I'm waiting for the final date, but they need to do some repairs to the building. So the services at that building are actually going to get relocated to HHS's Fenton Street building, the 8630 Fenton Street. So that will all go out on the website. If you are not familiar with the county's coronavirus website, it's just montgomerycountymd.gov/coronavirus. There is a link that is constantly updated on that site, closures and modifications. And so please, feel free to be checking there using that link. For anyone else who is seeking any of our services, we are asking that they call first. And I will put the phone numbers to all the offices in the chat box shortly. The Germantown office is still answering their phone. So anyone can call any of the offices, the Germantown, Rockville, or Silver Spring. The phones are being answered. Because of how the phones are being forwarded, that you might get voicemail more frequently than usual, but we are checking, we are returning all calls, and it does not need to be geographically based. So they're welcome to call any office. They no need to call all. Just pick whichever one they want. So in terms of the actual services being provided, so we are continuing to provide burial assistance. And we have waived some of our documentation requirements around that. Historically, there is a large packet that the funeral home needed to complete in order to access those funds. At this point, we are just asking for the invoice from the funeral home and the death certificate. And we are able to provide some funds to support any of your families that may be impacted in that way, whether from COVID or from any other reason. For utility shutoff and evictions. So what we are doing at this point is we are providing more support services for individuals whose utility or eviction crisis is specifically due to COVID. So what I mean by that is that, because we don't know precisely how long this is going to be, instead of someone coming in and saying, I wasn't able to pay May rent, can you help me with May rent? And we help them, but then the crisis continues and we're in the same boat in June. What we are instead doing at this point is trying to help them ensure that where applicable, they are accessing all other financial benefits that they may be eligible for at this point. So whether that's unemployment, whether that's the economic relief payment, through the federal government, whether that's any of the other county programs, whether the cash assistance or SNAP or any other county programs that would help bring more resources into their family. We are helping them with access those first. We are also offering mediation and budgeting planning with the landlord. So maybe they can't pay all their rent at this point, but they do still have some income coming in. So helping to negotiate that with the landlord for them. And we're kind of prioritizing those services at this point. If the crisis was pre-COVID, so they were unable to pay February's rent or March's rent, there is something else going on, and we are able to resolve that, then we are providing financial assistance from housing stabilization funds to assist with that. The other thing that we're doing that I think is really critical is making sure people are educated about what their rights are as a tenant at this point. There's a lot of people who are saying, well, my landlord gave me a notice to vacate or an eviction notice, so I need to leave and he's going to kick me out. And so we're helping to have them understand that a landlord can still do that. They can still put a notice on someone's door saying, hey, you didn't pay rent, but they cannot actually kick anyone out at this point. The courts are not hearing eviction cases. The governor's executive orders prohibit evictions at this point, and the only time an eviction can be done with a lease is through the sheriff's office, and they are not serving eviction notices. So if you do have a family that calls you in crisis that their landlord is trying to push them out, I would strongly encourage you to call the non-emergency police line because that is not allowed to be happening at this point. So some of what we're doing also, and we know it's very anxiety ridden, that even if you know you can't get kicked out, it's very hard to say, well, I can't pay May's rent, you know, what am I gonna do? But we are trying to provide that education so people know that your home is safe at the moment, and we're gonna continue to work with you and continue to prepare for when that might change. But at the moment, you need to stay in your home and, you know, stay safe there. For individuals who may not have a legal lease, right? They might be subleasing a bedroom from someone or the living room. We would encourage them, if they are unable to pay their rent also, or have gotten a request from the person who actually has the lease for them to leave, that if they want to see about eligibility for assistance, that they should specifically call the Rockville office. We have more bilingual staff there, and we have more what we call diversion staff. Our diversion staff is where it's a little bit like a mediation program where we're really gonna then work with whoever has that primary lease to, you know, help negotiate with them. Okay, can the person stay? What can we do to get you to allow this family to stay, you know, at this point? And we do have some flexible funds that we're able to push towards that need where applicable. Utility assistance, same thing. A lot of it is education. Utilities are not doing shutoffs at this point. They are still, I think what's challenging is they are still providing notification that you're in default and you should be shut off. So a lot of what we're doing is kind of recorrecting some of that. They've specifically said, the utility companies, that they want to provide that because they don't want someone to be surprised when the public health emergency is over and they see, oh my gosh, I had $1,000, $2,000 bill, whatever it might be. So again, we're talking through with them in terms of opportunities to help set up, you know, a payment plan, just that understanding of your utility will not be shut off now. Do not worry that you won't have electricity or water at this point. And then making sure that if maybe perhaps before COVID, they were not income eligible for our Office of Home Energy Program services, but maybe now they are. So making sure that they're applying for those services. Our Office of Home Energy does provide a credit to people's electric and gas bills who are income eligible. And so it's based on the household income and household size. It puts a credit on their account that the utility will then just draw down as needed. It's an annual credit that anyone is eligible for. The eligibility year goes through June. So someone who has not yet applied since last July should definitely be applying now. They can apply now, and they can also apply again in July and August. So they actually might be able, you know, for this year, in a sense, to get 2 payments if they didn't already get one in the past, I guess it's about 10 months. Those applications are also available online. I'll put the link in here. And similarly, that office is closed to the public, but they are available by phone to help walk anyone through. That program specifically, there needs to be someone in the household who because of where the funding is from, there needs to be someone in the household who has legal status to be here. So it could be a child in the household, and they will run the application by the child, but they will take into consideration the income of everybody in the household. So, you know, as long as there is a person living in the home who has legal status here. For the eviction prevention burial assistance, nothing is set by legal status. We have access to both local county funds and state funds. So if there is a status question, we would just use the county funds as opposed to using any of the state money that we have. So please don't use that as a benchmark of whether to refer someone to come in and seek our services. The other thing I would just note is I know there's been a lot of press already about the additional $2 million supplemental appropriation that the council approved yesterday for rental assistance. We are still working out on how to deploy those funds, so please be patient with us, give us a drop of time. It will be the intention is for it to be a mix of use with those kind of informal leases, the diversion program that I was talking about, and then also rapid rehousing, which is, you know, really some short-term funds to get people into housing, to get them stabilized. You know, we help kind of pay their rent for anywhere from, you know, 2 to 6 months, and then they're a little bit more on their own after that point. So I know that was a ton of information to take in. So, you know, please do, our website is montgomerycountymd.gov/homelessness. So, you know, please do check out our specific website, and I will also put in some of those links and phone numbers into the chat.
Thank you very much, Ilana. And again, if people have questions, please just put them in the chat box. We have about 10 or 15 minutes left, so I'm going to now turn it to the Gilchrist Center, Anna and Uni, who offer to share some of the resources they've been pulling together.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Anne, Amanda, and Ilana for sharing that really valuable information. I'd like to share my screen. And I'm going to show you the Gilchrist Center's homepage, because a lot of the resources that were just shared are actually all collected here, as well as some others. So as you know, the Gilchrist Center is part of Montgomery County. We're a small agency that serves the immigrant community, and we are closed to the public, but we are all working from home. And as you can see right here, I'm hoping you can see. Can somebody confirm that? You can
Yes.
see my website. Okay. You can see that we are answering the phone Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Right now, this week, we are overwhelmed with calls because of a new program that I'm going to tell you about in a second. And I just want to say Uni is on the call, and she's going to chime in when I forget something. Right, Uni?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to share with you on our website here, this is montgomerycountymd.gov/Gilchrist. We have, I want to show you Montgomery County Community Resources. This is a link to that COVID-19 site that Ilana mentioned. And if you scroll down a bit, you get to immigrant and language resources, and that's where you can find some things in different languages here. I'm going to show you more in a second. You can see, you know, our website, some hotlines that belong to different organizations, including CASAs that I think Shannon just shared, and a number of other resources. So I just encourage you to use this when you get questions from your students. I also, on this website, you'll see the tool, food assistance tool that, let's see how slow this is going to be here. Here we go. That we just saw, that Amanda just showed us. And I can't activate it here, but if you were going on the website, you'd be able to click on all the links as well. So we're sort of a clearinghouse, right? We don't do everything, but we want to make sure everybody has access to any resource that will help the community. In addition, I'm just going to show you here, I'm not going to click on these, but there are resource lists that we are updating with the most up-to-date information. So for example, this healthcare list is going to show which clinics are open now, and it also has some guidance on who's eligible, who they can accept, etc. Okay, so also this is just up, and I know that in the English programs we want to try to stay in English as much as possible, but some of our some of our students or their family members might benefit from having resources in other languages. So I'm just going to show you, actually I'm going to skip, I already opened it, so let me show you this. So we have infographics like this one in multiple languages. So you can access them, you know, from our website right there. I believe they are soon going to be available in other parts of the Montgomery County website, where everybody's working really fast, so there's a lot of updating that needs to be done. So there's an important, okay, I'm going to show you, let's see, I'm going to show you this. It's also accessible from our site, but this program was released on Monday. This is why we're swamped with calls right now. So this program, I'm not going to go through all the details, there are a lot of them, but it does provide a one-time payment for people who meet certain criteria, and these are the criteria right here. They have to be Montgomery County residents needing relief for food and essentials. They have to not be able to benefit from federal and state relief programs, and they need to have income equal to or less than 50% of the federal poverty level. So this is something that people can call. I think if we go down here, there's a lot of information. Yeah, they can call 311, and then of course we are also taking calls about. And then the last thing, okay, let me just see.
Anna, there's a question, are undocumented eligible for EARP?
Yes. Yes.
And actually, this is Uni. This program was specifically targeted to undocumented folks. It's not marketed in that way, and it's not limited, obviously, to undocumented immigrants, but it's primarily undocumented immigrants who will be eligible for neither the federal stimulus or any state programs such as unemployment. So the important thing to note there, and Joanne talked about this earlier though, is currently we're only in phase 1, and that there's specific criteria. A very small slice of the population that is eligible, generally speaking, is currently going to be receiving a check. And so phase 2 and 3, like Joanne mentioned, are not rolled out yet. And so it's important not to raise people's hopes that they're going to be getting a check in the mail right away, or that they'll even qualify, because it's a fairly complicated analysis. And so, yes, you should know it's there, but people should be very aware that there's a lot of, that's going into rolling out the 2nd and 3rd phases. And there's a very small slice of people who are going to be processed in phase 1. But the information is on the FAQ that Anna just shared on this website.
Thanks, Uni. And then one other thing, this relates to some of what I think several people were talking about earlier. This website here talks about, helps people connect to different HHS resources, including housing stabilization, OESS, which covers a number of things you can see right here, how you can get through because they are physically, you know, their doors are closed. And then here's the energy, rental assistance, and phone numbers. So that's going to be a valuable resource. And maybe we'll put that in the, I'm not sure, Uni, if that's on our website as well.
Yeah, it is on our website, and I have to apologize for the state of the website. We are going to have a separate COVID page, and we're going to try to do a lot more to make it a little bit better.
Oh.
So there's good information there.
Good.
It's just not laid out very well. Actually, it's the one right below that, Anna, is the
This one, okay.
HHS one, and I put a link for the English, and then that whole site is in Spanish. That page is in Spanish as well.
Mhm.
And so if you have students who are Spanish speakers and have access to the internet, you know, that Spanish page is going to be helpful for them in particular.
Okay, well, thank you very much for providing us with that information, which, as you say, kind of pulls together some of the resources that were mentioned by our other guest speakers. I think we are about at our time. So I just wanted to thank the guest speakers all very much for the useful resources that they shared here. We will be following up with an e-bulletin next week, as I mentioned previously, that will also include links from this meeting in that e-bulletin in case you didn't catch them. And the recording of this meeting will also be available on our website. So with that, I just wanted to say again, it's so lovely to see everybody, and keep up the good work. We'll see you again soon. All right, take care and get some sunshine while it's still there. Bye. Thank you.